If you're looking for a tool to organize your life, then look no further. Hi, I'm Lucas, and over the past year, I reviewed dozens of task managers, so you don't have to. Judging through the lens of the Getting Things Done methodology, or GTD for short, in this video, I'm going to score and rank them all to help you decide which one is the right fit for you. To help make up our minds, we're going to use a scorecard that takes into account the 5 pillars of GTD. The first pillar is capture. How can we capture new thoughts into an inbox for later processing? The second is clarify. How easy is it to process items from the inbox into a place where they belong? The third is organize. What kind of structure can we design for those processed items to go into? The fourth is referencing. How easily can we store relevant information and find it when we need it? And lastly, we have engaging. When scoring for this, I asked myself how excited the app made me to actually do things, as well as how much fun I had using it. Having fun with your tools is essential and often overlooked. Any app will be held against these 5 pillars and receive up to 5 points each, allowing for a maximum score of 25. Before we get started, a couple of disclaimers. Number 1, all of this is just my own opinion. You may disagree, and that's okay. Number 2, I started this series near the beginning of 2021, so it may be that a tool I looked at in, let's say, April may have evolved significantly since then and may deserve a higher score. I will review many of these tools again in 2022 to see how they've updated since. And number 3 is that every tool that you're going to see in this overview is actually usable for GTD. Just because I personally wouldn't use it doesn't mean you should. So I invite you to also consider the tools that I gave a low score, because they're still part of the list that made the cut out of dozens more that I didn't consider even making a video on. First up is Evernote, the first video I ever made, the first tool I ever used for GTD, and I used it for 3 years, so it has a special place in my heart. In my video, I reviewed Evernote's legacy version because I felt it became extremely bloated, slow, and practically useless with its updates to both the desktop and mobile app. As of recording this video late 2021, you can still download Evernote's legacy version from their website. So that's what we'll be scoring for here. But next year, I'll definitely take another look at Evernote to see how it's evolved. For capturing, it's all about the speed with which you can make new entries on the spot to clear your mind when you need to. Evernote Legacy gets a 4 out of 5. It used to be 5 thanks to its amazing mobile app. When they force updated that though, it actually triggered me to look for a new system and launch this YouTube channel eventually, so I guess it was a blessing in disguise. Clarifying gets 3 points, because while it was easy to do with tags and moving in between notebooks, it was also error prone. Mistype a tag and it'll add a new one without warning, requiring you to delete it again. Small annoyances like that build up over time, but it's certainly workable. Organizing is decent with its notebooks and nested tags, but making changes in bulk is difficult, and I often found myself messing things up when dragging and dropping with no way to revert the change except manually moving things back over. Color coding and text formatting tags was a feature I really enjoyed though, and the multiple ways to view notes was great, so it gets 3 points. Referencing is where Evernote really showed its strength as a note-taking tool, and it gets a 5 out of 5. I especially enjoyed clipping articles from the web, as it removed any ads or design from the clip page, but retained its formatting, leading to a great reading experience. For engaging, Evernote gets 4 points. I used this setup for over 3 years because it was usable both on mobile and desktop. It was always evident that using it as a complete GTD tool was pushing it to its limit, but it remained usable even as my system grew over the years. Adding up these scores, Evernote gets 19 out of 25 points and therefore gets good rating. For those of you who've been following me for a while, it'll be no surprise that Todoist is going to get a high score here. It's been my daily driver for 2021. Capturing with Todoist is a breeze. You can capture items from virtually anywhere, plus it's quick and intuitive, and it gets 5 points. Clarifying is also something I've been able to do effectively on autopilot after getting to know labels and hotkeys to easily add them. What I also love about Todoist is how well it understands natural speech. Just type in 2 days, for example, and it'll automatically set the due date for that time. 5 points as well. Organizing is easy to do thanks to its projects module. You can create lists and nest them, which works well, but my 2 minor complaints are that you can only give them colors and not emojis to visually clarify what they mean, and just the name itself. Projects are lists and should be named as such. 4 points. Referencing is surprisingly easy to do thanks to its non-completable tasks functionality. Just add an asterisk to the start of the task title and it won't have a checkbox, which is perfect for storing reference items, especially given the common space for note-taking or adding attachments. Not on the level of Evernote though, so it gets 4 points. Using Todoist has been fun for me, and it motivates me to actually get to work thanks to its clean design. I don't like its karma points feature, which may lead folks to chase vanity metrics instead of focusing on what's important though, so it gets 4 points. Adding up these scores, we get 22 points, which gives it a well-deserved top-tier rating. FacileThings was the first pure GTD tool I tried. It's an admirable effort in staying true to the GTD spirit. Capturing, for example, is great thanks to its built-in inbox, though I would have liked to see things like a web clipper, so it gets 4 points. Clarifying doesn't get much better than with FacileThings. It's super intuitive, and anyone who read the GTD book will enjoy seeing the tool align perfectly with its principles when processing from the inbox for the first time. 5 points. FacileThings does a good job at organizing, though I just didn't really enjoy the layout. 4 points. The same can be said for referencing, which gets 3 points in my book. This is purely personal preference, but I actually enjoy a bit more personal freedom when setting up my system, and FacileThings just comes shipped out of the box, and that's how you have to use it. So if you don't want to spend time setting up a system of your own, then FacileThings is a great option, and with 20 points, it deserves a solid good rating. Notion is well known and it's super versatile. I was super excited to try it out for GTD, but perhaps my high expectations led me to feel a bit disappointed after. Capturing is easy enough. It's easy to capture new items in your self-created inbox, but the fact that Notion doesn't completely work offline always gives me pause, so it gets 4 points. Clarifying disappointed me the most. I had a really tough time setting up projects, task management, and context tagging functionality in Notion, which I had to do from scratch. If it's not intuitive to me, then I cannot give it a high score. 2 points. Organization, on the other hand, is where Notion bounces back. Its ability to create a nested list of all kinds with very high levels of customization was awesome to see. I especially like the ability to add custom pictures to a list symbol, which, for example, allows you to add pictures of real people you know to their agendas list. 5 points. The same can be said for referencing. Uploading and storing any kind of information in any format is a breeze, so it gets the full 5 points as well. Engaging gets 3 points, and this is a bit harsh, but looking at it from a pure GTD angle, I didn't see myself using it, mainly due to its difficult setup for task management. Beyond that though, it's a phenomenal tool with lots of integrations and flexibility. In my reviews, I try to not rely on integrations to make it work and instead look at the out-of-the-box experience. Having said that, if you enjoy tinkering around, then give it a try. It can work, and it gets 19 points, earning it a good rating. This was a fun one as it's so counterintuitive, but I had a lot of fun building it and reinterpreting what a spreadsheet software can be used for. Capturing gets a 1 out of 5 though. Adding an item to a spreadsheet usually doesn't happen quickly, so from the speed angle, I can't give it more than that. Clarifying turned out to be doable with conditional formatting and data validation and gets 2 points. The fact that multiple sheets within the same document can be connected also really helps here. Organizing with Google Sheets is pretty doable. In the end, spreadsheets are used to organize data, so why not apply that to your life? It's an odd experience, but you could get used to it, and it gets 3 points. Referencing, it's not really going to happen in a spreadsheet, right? Yeah, you can store URLs maybe or small text strings, but attachments or articles are really going to push it. It's not impossible, but I'm not giving it more than 1 point. All in all, this brings us to a score of 10 out of 25, which makes this our first in the Get Creative bracket. Because that's what you'll have to do with GTD. Not unexpected though, and it's free, so that's worth something. Nirvana was an interesting one, as it's in the same category as FacileThings. a pure GTD tool. Unfortunately, I was not as impressed as with FacileThings. Capturing was okay and gets 3 points. Processing was top-notch and gets 5 points. I logged back into Nirvana for this video and found that the organization capabilities are great. I just didn't like them personally. That feeling stuck with me, so it gets 4 points. Reference material and engagement both get 3 points from me. As with FacileThings, this is a personal opinion, but I just like having more flexibility to set things up my own way. This gives Nirvana a total out of 18 points and thus a good rating. After trying it out, I developed a love-hate relationship with Asana. It has some amazing features, but it isn't the best for pure GTD, which isn't strange considering its main focus as a collaborative project manager. Capturing is possible, but not intuitive, and gets 2 points. Clarifying is well supported through tags, automations, and some amazing functionality enabling dependencies and blockers, which makes clarifying sequential projects, for example, a breeze. I wish more task managers had this feature, and it gets 5 points. Asana isn't really made for reference, though its portfolio functionality may suit that need if you want to go all in, but it gets 2 points. I had a lot of fun setting up advanced projects with Asana, but I also found it to be incomplete and potentially frustrating to use when it comes to capturing, so overall it gets a mixed 3 points for Engage, giving it a total of 15 and a does the job rating. I received some helpful feedback on Asana from viewers indicating I may have missed some valuable features though, so I'll definitely review it again next year to make sure it gets a fair chance to shine. Trello is famous, though often under or even misused in my opinion. It can be so much more than a board to move cards around in. It really is a sandbox that can give you so much more, which I hope to have demonstrated in my video. Capturing is pretty unremarkable though and gets 3 points. Clarifying with Trello was an absolute joy however, as I was able to set up my preferred way of working with its powerful Butler automation feature, and so it gets 5 points. Organizing through workspaces and boards, which can all have their own unique settings, is great, though there is a risk you may lose oversight if you get lost in it, so it gets 4 points. Engaging with Trello is an easy 5. I had so much fun using it, and I can see myself using it as a daily driver for GTD as well. This brings Trello to a total score of 21, placing it next to Todoist in the top tier. Doing a 180-degree turn here from one of my favorite tools to one of my least preferred, which is OneNote. Capturing is doable but not intuitive and gets 1 point. The same goes for clarifying, there's just too much manual work involved. Organizing gets 3 points. With 3 layers from notebooks to tabs to pages, you can set up a really good structure. Referencing gets 4 points. This is what OneNote is originally made for obviously, but even then, it's nothing like Evernote or Notion. Engaging gets 1 point. Now, don't get me wrong, it is workable. That's true for every tool I'm listing here actually, and trust me, I reviewed many more tools that didn't even make the cut. I wouldn't have made these video reviews if I didn't think it was possible. But with 11 points, OneNote falls in the Get Creative tier. Similar to Google Sheets, HubSpot is one I tried for fun because I have a professional background in sales, and HubSpot is the best CRM out there, which I've used for years until this very day. Surprisingly, the free version of HubSpot held up pretty well as a GTD system. While its capturing isn't the best, it's doable via the task queue and gets 2 out of 5. And the same is true for clarifying. Organizing is doable, but relies extremely heavily on reinterpreting certain features. A sales pipeline can serve as a project list, for example, but if you don't know what you're doing, it's easy to get confused. But since I've used it for years, I just didn't, and it gets a 3 out of 5 from me. Referencing is actually perfectly doable with HubSpot since you can store all kinds of information on different records, including attachments and long pieces of text, so it gets a 5 out of 5. HubSpot is fun to use for me, and I'm biased since I've used it how it's meant to be used as a CRM for years, so from a pure GTD angle, I'll tone it down a bit and give it 3 points for engaging. That brings us to 15 points in total for HubSpot, surprisingly high and puts it in does the job territory. Nozbe is the only one on the list that I had no memory of when creating this video. I had to rewatch my review and log back in to get caught up. That's not a good sign, and in general, my one-word summary of this tool is meh. Capturing is good, but nothing special and gets 3 points. Clarifying is really good and gets 4 points. However, organizing isn't intuitive and gets 2 points. Reference is even worse and gets 1 point. It's not as bad as OneNote, but I certainly didn't enjoy using it, so it gets 2 points for engagement, bringing it to a total of 12 points for Get Creative territory. While it takes the award for Most Awesome Task Manager name, capturing was an average experience with Remember the Milk, so it gets 3 points. The same is true for clarifying. Organizing with RTM through its various smart lists is very doable and gets a solid 4 points. When it comes to referencing though, there weren't many options, so it gets 2 points. And the same is true for the overall user experience. It just felt a bit rusty and outdated to me, so it gets 2 points for that, leading to a total score of 14 points. Does the job. Before trying it out, I had seen lots of Monday ads, so I was curious to see how it would hold up. But I left disappointed. While it's flexible like Trello and Asana, it felt sluggish and unintuitive to me. Every category gets 2 points from me, as you have to build up your system from the ground up, but you really have to get creative, which is the tier it ends up in with 10 points in total. TickTick is the surprise of the year for me. It's awesome. I never heard of it before this year, but I was blown away. Capturing is an amazing experience with various ways to do it, and even a desktop widget for Windows. 5 points. Clarifying is great, but complicated to get right, so it gets 4 points. It finds a good balance between freedom and limitations, but you do need to make sure your filters work for you. Luckily, I have a full free course on that, which you can watch. Organizing is great, and is exactly what Todoist should be. Nested, task, or notes list that can have emojis to indicate what they mean. Moving things back and forth is a breeze as well. Referencing gets 4 points. It falls just short of Evernote here, but you can get really far with it. With its intuitive UX, it deserves 5 stars for engaging, giving it a total score of 23 points, taking the crown in the top tier status, and I know many of my viewers love it as well. It's not quite up there with TickTick, but ClickUp was also one of my biggest revelations of the year. This all-in-one tool received a lot of funding this year and has been pumping out a lot of updates, so I was curious to try it. For capturing, I found it to be okay but nothing special, and it gets 3 points. Clarifying with ClickUp was amazing thanks to its detailed setup options and gets 5 points. Organizing is great thanks to multiple workspaces, lists, document types, etc., and so it also gets 5 points. Referencing was decent, though I wasn't a big fan of the layout, and it gets 4 points. ClickUp was fun to use, so for engaging, I'm giving it 4 points, giving it a total score of 21 and a top tier rating. Pro tip, I have a video with a vetted ClickUp consultant on my channel where he outlines his GTD workflow in detail, which I recommend you watch as well. Any.Do didn't really impress me. Capturing was decent, but the mobile app had some weird quirks and gets 3 points. Clarifying was fine and gets 3 points as well. Organizing is a big challenge with only first level lists, as well as referencing, which both get 1 point. Engaging gets 2 points because the interface was clean and clear, but just too limited in my opinion. This brings Any.Do to 10 points, or the Get Creative tier. Someone recommended I try Taskade, but in my first round of trying it, I didn't even find it usable for GTD. A few months and many updates later, I tried again and was happy with the improvements. Capturing is easy to do, though you have to set up the system for it yourself, and it gets 3 points. Clarifying is decent, with integrated tags and action tables, and gets 3 points as well. Organizing through spaces and sublists were well done and gets 4 points. And the same is true for referencing, which gets 4 points thanks to Taskade's various templates, mind maps, and doc functionality. This brings Taskade to a total of 17 points, giving it a good rating. And I look forward to seeing how it's going to evolve over the next year, as they have been pumping out a lot of updates since my last review. I closed out 2021 with a review of Microsoft To-Do, which may well have been both the most requested as well as my most hated software. I gave it a chance a couple of times this year, but ran into a wall many times before finally coming up with something workable. Capturing is pretty good with To-Do, but since the inbox isn't named as such and can't be renamed, it's not as intuitive and gets 3 points. For clarifying, To-Do has some nice features, especially for timing, but is lacking in the context department and gets 2 points. Organizing through folders and lists is nice, but nothing special and gets 2 points. Referencing via list is possible through note-taking and attachments on tasks, but since they have to be tasks, it's a stretch and gets 2 points. Engaging gets 1 point due to Microsoft To-Do's limitations and rigidity. I didn't have fun with it, and I don't see myself getting motivated to get things done when using the tool. This brings To-Do to a total of 10 points, which means you'll have to get creative when making it work for GTD. So as you can see, TickTick takes the crown from me in 2021, with the highest score and a well-deserved top-tier rating. But it's not the only one in that tier, so Todoist, Trello and ClickUp are also very high up there, and I recommend you give them a try if you haven't decided on a system yet. In fact, give them all a try if you want to. The links to try them out will be in the description of this video, as well as links to videos on every tool individually to help you get a more detailed view and decide then. So good luck with making a decision on the right tool for you. If you need any help, just let me know in the comments. And I hope you enjoyed this overview of 2021. 2022 will have much more cool stuff in store, so make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet. And then I'll see you next year.